You know, when you think about your morning coffee, or even just the phone in your hand, have you ever stopped to wonder how it got to you? There's this massive, basically invisible international network that brings us everything. And right now, it's going through the most radical change in a century. We're seeing this huge shift away from a system that was built just for cost to one that's now being built for survival. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this new resilient supply chain is being put together piece by piece. Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll uncover a hidden flaw in the system we all rely on. Then, we'll look at the pressures, the big squeezes that are forcing this change. From there, we'll see the strategic pivot companies are making, explore the incredible new digital tools they're using, and finally, we'll pull it all together to see what this resilient future actually looks like. All right, let's start with something that might surprise you. The system that brings us pretty much everything we own, this marvel of modern logistics, well, it has a critical weakness right at its core. And it's a flaw that costs billions and puts the things we need most at risk. Just look at that number for a second. $40 billion. That is what the global food industry alone loses every single year to things like counterfeit goods, tampering, you name it. And listen, this isn't just some accounting error on a balance sheet. It's a massive symptom of a deep lack of trust and integrity in the very system that's supposed to feed the world. So it really makes you wonder, right? In a world where our global supply networks are this fragile, how can we possibly protect them? How can we guarantee that the food we eat and the products we use every single day are safe and reliable? Now, this weakness, this fragility, it isn't happening in a bubble. Not at all. There are actually two huge forces right now that are squeezing the system from both sides, creating this incredible urgency for change. One is coming from the outside world, and the other, well, it's coming from us. The first pressure is what the experts call geopolitical risk, or GPR for short. The easiest way to think about this is like shockwaves from conflicts, trade wars, or political tensions that ripple across the entire planet. One of these events can suddenly shut down international shipping lanes, make costs totally skyrocket, and just inject a massive dose of uncertainty for any business that relies on international parts. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. Corporate leaders aren't looking at global tensions as some distant headline anymore. No way. They see it as a direct, immediate threat to their operations. A conflict halfway around the world can literally mean production lines grind to a halt and you see empty shelves in your local store. And the second pressure point? It's much closer to home. In fact, it's us, we, the consumers. And the speed of this change is just wild. The demand for transparency, for knowing exactly where a product comes from, who made it, how it was made, it nearly doubled in just 2 years. That is a seismic shift in how people think about what they buy. And get this, it's not just some nice-to-have preference. It is a powerful force in the market. People are putting their money where their mouth is, rewarding companies that can prove their products are safe, that they're sustainable, that they're ethically sourced. Today, transparency isn't a bonus feature. It's a must-have to compete. So you've got geopolitical chaos brewing overseas, and you've got this intense consumer demand right here at home. What are companies supposed to do? Well, they're making a huge strategic pivot. They're rethinking their total reliance on faraway international suppliers and starting to bring their operations much closer to home. This strategy is called reshoring, and it is a total flip in thinking. See, for decades, the whole game was offshoring, chasing the absolute lowest labor cost anywhere on the planet. Reshoring basically says, okay, maybe lowest cost isn't the only thing that matters. It's about getting resilience, getting more control, even if it comes with a higher price tag. It's a move from pure cost-cutting to long-term stability. But here's the really interesting part. Companies aren't just firing all their international suppliers. It's more of a strategic shuffle. They're reconfiguring their networks. Maybe they'll swap out a supplier in a high-risk country for one in a more stable domestic location. The goal isn't to have a smaller network. It's to have a smarter, tougher one. But look, a new strategy by itself isn't enough to manage these incredibly complex global webs. To actually make this all work, companies are grabbing a powerful new digital toolkit. They're basically building what you could call supply chain 2.0. And right at the heart of this new toolkit is blockchain. Now, you've probably heard about it from crypto, right?
But its real game-changing power here is as a super secure, totally transparent digital record book for the entire supply chain. It's like a brand new foundation built on trust.
So what does blockchain actually do for a supply chain? Well, for starters, it gives you incredible traceability. Imagine scanning a bag of coffee and being able to see the exact farm it came from, the ship that carried it, everything. Second, the records can't be changed. They're immutable, which is a huge weapon against fraud. Third, it creates total transparency, since everyone sees the same info, building trust. And finally, it can automate things like instantly paying a supplier the second a delivery is confirmed. Next up is something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, the digital twin. Imagine creating a perfect virtual copy of your entire international supply chain. I mean, every factory, every warehouse, every single ship, all of it mirrored in a digital space that updates in real time. This virtual world becomes this incredible playground for managing risk. A manager can play what if with their entire global operation. What happens if a geopolitical crisis shuts down this port? Or what's the carbon footprint if we switch to this new shipping route? They can literally stress test their whole international network and find the weak spots before they turn into real-world catastrophes. And finally, we have composite AI. The best way to think about this is like an AI dream team. Instead of having one AI trying to do everything, this approach combines a bunch of different AI techniques, and each one is a specialist at something. The result? A much smarter, more powerful tool for solving really complex supply chain puzzles. So on our AI dream team, you might have one AI that's an expert at scanning news reports to predict geopolitical risk. Another might be a logistics genius, constantly finding the best international shipping routes. Composite AI is like the team captain, bringing all their strengths together to give you sharper insights and really drive up performance. So, we've got the new strategies, we've got the powerful new digital tools. Let's put it all together now and see what this supply chain of the future really looks like. The magic here is seeing how all these pieces click together to form one system. It all starts with the strategy, reshoring to lower your risk. Then you lay the foundation, blockchain, which provides that layer of trust and solid data. On top of that, you add the brain, the digital twin, giving you total visibility. And finally, you turn on the engine, AI, constantly analyzing and optimizing the whole thing. It's a system that's intelligent, transparent, and resilient by its very design. And this, right here, is the end goal. This powerful combination lets companies do two critical things at once. First, they can finally shield their operations from the growing storm of global uncertainty. And second, they can meet that non-negotiable demand from all of us for transparency and sustainability. This whole revolution in how we make and move things around the world leaves us with one last fascinating question. As our technology makes these supply chains smarter and tougher, are we going to see a big shift away from these sprawling, globe-spanning networks toward more local, more compact, and ultimately smaller systems? The great supply chain reconfiguration, well, it's only just getting started.